have you ever noticed that your relationships just seem to follow the same patterns? You know how they came up with that term, do I have a sign in my head? And like, why do I keep repeating the same relationships over and over again? Um, this topic that we're going to talk about, well, I'm going to talk about this month, it's going to answer some of those questions. We're going to chat about why these emotional struggles continue to plague us. And most importantly, how we can start feeling free from them. During the show, I want you to feel free to drop your thoughts, your questions, and your own experiences in the comment section. I want you to know that this is a safe place. So I'll be looking at the comment section for your questions, for your comments, for your responses, whatever they may be. I'm going to be looking for them because this talk show is not just about me, although I definitely want to share wonderful information with for you, but it's a talk show about us. I want to be able to answer some of those questions. I want to be able to help you on your journey of learning why we keep connecting those unhealthy relationships. And it's not because of that sign on our head. It's not. It goes a little bit deeper than that. And we're going to talk about it on today's A Woman's Worth talk show. Right? Oh, I'm so excited about it. This is going to be awesome. Right? So this is just part one. Just I want you to know that it is just part one of a four-part series. You know, whether you're on this journey, on a healing journey for a while, just like me, or you're just starting, I want you to think of this episode as a friend. A friend is giving you a handbook on how to deal with the challenges, especially those emotional ones. The handbook really isn't a physical handbook, but it's a guide. It's a metaphor for the insight and strategies and the knowledge I'll be sharing with you to navigate love bombing in various relationship contexts. Because it happens. It doesn't just happen with our intimate partners, it happens in different kinds of relationships. So we're going to talk about that. Right? Again, my name is Natalie. I am the CEO and founder of She's Taking Her Life Back, who is host the weekly talk show called The Woman's Worth Talk Show. And I developed this talk show because I wanted a place to have real talk conversations and at the same time educate women who experience trauma like myself, answer some of those questions and break free from those struggles that we've been having when we're challenged, challenged to find a healthy relationship, or we're challenged to fulfill our dreams, challenged to feel that purpose. And the challenge happens because of a lot of things that's going on. But tonight's challenge, we're going to talk about trauma bonding. And you heard that topic. If you've been around and if you've been talking to people about trauma, I'm going to assume that you heard the word trauma bonding. And because I am a professional counselor as well for over 32 years, I understand that although some people hear the topic or hear the title of certain things, doesn't mean they have the exact definition. So tonight I'm going to actually give you the definition and give you some examples because I really want you to understand what trauma bonding is. So when you think of the definition or you think of the examples that I'm giving you, maybe you can relate that to some of those relationships that you have those questions about, about why you keep going back to those kinds of relationship. And it doesn't have to be the same person. Like you go from one relationship and then you say, I'm leaving that relationship because it's not healthy. But then the next one is a trauma bonding relationship. And then you leave that one and then you go to the next relationship. And then you start getting frustrated because you don't understand why you keep choosing these relationships. And even if, in your mind, you're saying, I want something different. I want a different friendship. I want a different boyfriend. I want a different husband. I want a different, whatever your partner is for you or your relationship is for you, you're telling yourself that you want something different and you want something healthy, but you don't quite know how to get there. And it's frustrating, and I get it. So at the journey of my own transformation through my own trauma healing, and I've been through the trauma of domestic violence, childhood sexual assault, a cycle of domestic violence relationship, narcissistic relationships, and just on and on and on. Until one day I said, I got to stop and I have to figure out what is going on. So I've learned a lot of things through my professional career as a counselor, and I learned a lot of things on my own personal journey of trauma healing. And I'm here to share some of that with you here tonight, right? So again, let's talk about what we mean when we say trauma bonding. I want you to think of it like this. Think of trauma bonding as like an invisible emotional connection that is formed during the tough times and during hurtful times. And I'm going to get more clear into that if that's not clear enough for you, because I truly want you to understand what trauma bonding is, right? It happens when our feelings become really intensely tied to people or situations that may have caused us pain. I'm going to repeat that. It happens when our feelings become intensely tied to people or situations that may have caused us pain. It's like getting stuck in a cycle of strong emotions, making it real challenges break free and move on. It's so important to recognize and understand trauma bonding so we can start the journey toward healing and freeing ourselves from those emotional ties, because they're answers. There's a way out, right? So let me give you a clearer picture. Just imagine a person, and let's call her Veronica, right? Veronica is someone who grew up in an environment where her emotional needs were not met by her parents. This parent that we're talking about would alternate between moments of kindness and affection. Then there were periods of neglect or even emotional abuse. But during the times of kindness, Veronica would feel a deep sense of connection and love, of course, which created the strong emotional bond. However, when a parent's behavior turned negative, Veronica became confused. She felt feelings of confusion, sadness, and hurt. Like, wouldn't we? Like, one moment someone is saying how much they love you and affectionate and pouring all those things into you, and then you start feeling like I'm feeling loved, and all of a sudden a switch goes on. And then all of a sudden the emotional availability shows up. In some cases, the abuse, the neglect shows up. And doesn't that wouldn't that leave you confused? So if you're someone who's watching this, and you understand the scenario that I just came up with Veronica, and you have a real scenario like that in your life or some parts of it, share in a comment. Just put hashtag me too. Me too. I can identify what Veronica's situation was, because you know what? You may have grown up just like her. You know, what happens with someone like Veronica, as she grows older and then she begins to enter into romantic relationships, then she finds herself drawn to partners who exhibit the same patterns of kindness, followed by emotional distance or even mistreatment. The same pattern of behavior that her parents exhibited to her. Is this kind of making sense? Is this kind of triggering a thought or memory or connection that's giving you that aha moment? So when we talk about, relationships and the kinds of relationships we connect to it because we're bonded to that pattern. It may not seem healthy, and a lot of the things I want to continue to talk about happen subconsciously. And what I mean by subconsciously, it happens and you're not really aware of it. It's like before you know it, you're in this relationship once again with someone who is a trauma bond to you. We've been there. I've been there multiple times. I've been there. So I completely understand. And despite the negative aspects of these relationships, the moments of affection, listen to this, the moments of affection trigger a sense of familiarity. The familiarity is the same experience, like I said a few moments ago, that we experienced in our household or some area of our life when we were children. So we connect to that kind of behavior. We connect to that kind of pattern because that may have been the pattern that we grew up with. So again, when we start seeking partners, subconsciously, we wind up with the same kinds of relationship. That is that bond. That is that trauma bond, that we're bond to that pattern, that I love you, you're the best thing ever. Then if you don't get away from me, get away from me. I don't want to be around you. and sometimes met with even harsher words than that, they're familiar. You know, Veronica, and that could represent you and me, we can see that she can find this challenging to break free from. Can you see it challenging if it's something that reminds you, something that feels familiar, even though it's not healthy? You know, it becomes pausing because I'm remembering relationships I had in the past, and in those moments when the relationship is good and you're feeling loved and you're feeling wanted and you're feeling cared about, you start to believe that those moments of love are actually worth staying for the difficult times. Because at some point you begin to see the pattern in a relationship, but your mind is on the loving partner, the partner that brought you flowers, the partner that took you out, the partner that's telling you I love you, nurturing you, hugging you, loving you. We start thinking subconsciously, like, I know there's bad times, but we start saying like he really is a good person because our mind goes to those times when he is showing us all this affection. So then we put up with the bad times, hoping that the good times come back again. Does this sound familiar? In that scenario that I just shared with you, the trauma bond again is formed through repeated cycle of positive and negative experiences. That looks like the story that I shared about Veronica, and may have looked like our story, and may have looked like the relationship again that you have with your family early in your childhood. Just take a moment to think about it, even if it's not now. When you get off the live, when you get off listening and viewing the replay, take that moment. And is there a pattern? And I would often tell my clients when I was counseling at the time, and even when I talk about trauma to whoever's around me, you know, um, I always ask them that whatever you're going through right now, whatever relationship you're in right now, um, think about this. Is it a reminder of someone who raised you in your childhood? Is it a reminder? And I'm not talking about every single aspect. I'm talking about, you know, the trauma bonding part. They love you, the next day they don't, or they love you and the next hour they don't. Think about it. Is there any connection? I know it's easy to say the last five men in my life were like that, but is there any connection to who raised you in your childhood? The person that had the most influence in your life, the one that was there for you day to day and not always there for you in a positive way. Are there any similarities in those relationships? And if there are, and there's a high chance there are, that's what makes it difficult to leave them. That's what makes it challenging to leave. And I'm sure you may hear people around you say, oh, you know what, you need to leave them. Why are you still putting up with that? You already know what he's going to say. You just need to leave. They're more fish in the sea. You might be hearing that a lot. Just leave. But that person is well-meaning. They want you to have a better relationship. Of course, they want you to leave this negative experiences. But remember, your mind, your subconscious mind, which holds your belief system, which makes a decision in your life, is the thing that's making the decision to remain because you're sitting around waiting for the good times. And then we put up with the bad times. And that's why we don't leave. It's not familiar. you know? So recognizing and understanding this pattern is crucial. It's a crucial step if you're someone that this resonates with and you're someone trying to figure out what's going on. And on top of that, you're someone that really, really wants to leave the situation because you truly want the healthy relationship. And not that you get all the I love you and all of that 100% time, 100 times, I'm sorry, 100% of the time in relationships because everyone is human. But you want a healthy relationship. You want the majority of the time that you're hearing good things. And there'll be moments there's conflicts, but even during those conflicts, it's not a feeling like they don't love you. Even though there's anger exhibited, because we know we all have disagreements. The disagreement is never about how much they hate you or belittling you. That's the kind of relationship I'm hoping that we all want to go to. So if this resonates with you, I want you to understand again that it is so important to recognize and understand the patterns that I was talking about, because that's the only way that you're going to learn. You're going to begin to take the steps to break free and begin to seek out and bring those healthy relationships in your life, right? So we just getting started, y'all. So I want you to grab a cozy spot. I want you to open up your heart and let's start this healing journey together. I want you to stick around for some real talk, practical tools, and things that empower us as we talk about breaking change, a beginner's handbook for trauma bonding. So let's start with this. I want to talk about three important things to understand about trauma bonding. The first thing, when you are in a relationship and there's trauma bonding going on, you experience intense feelings. See, this trauma bonding usually means you have a strong emotional tie to people who might have hurt us. These feelings can be so strong, again, that letting go feels like leaving a part of yourself behind. That's how strong these emotional ties are. Have you ever been in a relationship and even when you left that relationship, you began experiencing like there's something missing from me, like this emptiness that I feel. I don't feel, for lack of a better word, that wholeness that I feel when I'm in a trauma bonding relationship. And that sense of wholeness, remember, represents how you grew up with that same pattern of behavior. Because when you leave it, that means you leaving that pattern, your familiarity, and everything you knew about relationships behind. And it's not a good feeling, although it is the feeling that we need to get through it to get to that healthy relationship. We need to become comfortable with that feeling until we learn to navigate and invite healthy relationships in our lives and become comfortable and familiar with that new feeling. Make sense? The second thing I want you to know about trauma bonding, again, there are some good moments and there are some bad moments. And it might sound to you like, well, that's all relationships. But when I'm talking about trauma and bonding, I'm talking about it's like a roller coaster of good times and followed by not so good times. It is like an up and down cycle, and it gets to be so confusing that, again, it makes it tricky to see your way out. So it's not the ups and downs that happens in healthier relationships. It is a roller coaster of ups and downs and back and forths, right? So the last thing, and I pretty much mentioned it as I was talking earlier, but it's really important for you to understand. I get it. I get it. Even though there may be people in your life that don't get it, who are telling you just leave, they don't understand how difficult it is to break free. And they may say to you, just leave, again, just leave. Just pack your stuff up, leave. Or some people may say, leave your stuff and leave. Come to my house. That does not cause someone to break free from that. I want to give you a scenario of my own personal story. Years ago, because of my domestic violence situation, there was one that I had had enough. And I made a wise decision for myself, and it took time. It didn't happen overnight. I made a decision that I was going into a domestic violence shelter because I had had enough, and I was ready to just to leave. So as I'm there in the shelter, I am watching one day after the next day watching women get on the phone to call their abusers to say, I want to come back. And it didn't matter that being in this shelter, domestic violence shelter, was an opportunity for them to learn to break free, to get support, to get help, and to leave and try to go into another situation as they're healing their trauma. They had an opportunity to do that. But that feeling and that breaking away from that trauma bond caused more discomfort in them, that they were picking up phones and saying, I want to come home, or just walking out and said, I'm leaving, I'm out. Again, to the untrained eye, that may seem pretty ridiculous. Like you really left a relationship, you went into a domestic violence shelter, you went there to get some help, you have people there that's going to help you, and you leave because it's hard to break free. Third one, it is so difficult to break free because we're not talking about just physically leaving a relationship. You can physically leave, but you are tied to that relationship. Remember, you are tied to that pattern of behavior that you grew up with, that's familiar to you. That part is difficult to break free from because that's an emotional tie. And that's what trauma bonding is. It is an emotional tie. So you can leave physically and still be tied to that relationship emotionally. And then for some women and men, they go back because it's too intolerable. Because leaving is breaking away from that familiar pattern once again. If you have any questions or you're getting this aha moment, put it in the chat. I would love to hear it. Even after this live, put it in the chat. Say me too. Or ask the questions or say, oh, that's why I was doing that or I am doing that. Here on the Woman's Worth Talk Show, I want to bring real talk information, real educational information, because I really want you to understand what may be going on when you yourself question, like, why can I leave? Why I keep tracking these unhealthy relationships? Why people think, or in my life think I could just leave? It's not that easy. It's possible, but it's not easy. We're talking about needing to do some trauma healing. We're talking about needing to do a trauma reset, a trauma mindset reset. We have to break up with the narrative that we learned growing up. We have to break up with that pattern. So again, just leaving doesn't break us away from that pattern because we'll turn around and we'll pick up another person with a different name, but the same pattern. That makes sense? Different name, same pattern. But his name is George, John, different names, same pattern of behavior, the same ups and downs, the same back and forths, the same uh, worshiping you and loving you and gifting you and giving you flowers, and then all of a sudden being emotionally unavailable. It's not easy to leave, but it is possible. And I'm here to help you to begin that journey. And this is what I talk about, the beginner's handbook. Hopefully, uh, what I'm sharing resonates with you and it gives you something to begin to think about. So you can begin to take step out of that maze, out of that confusion. I want this to be that first step for you. And if you're feeling stuck, it's okay. Anybody that's been in that situation, even mine, even though it's been years, I still clearly remember being stuck in those situations. I also remember being stuck caused me to feel a lot of shame that I didn't even want to tell anybody what's going on. I didn't want to tell anybody. I was stuck. And I knew even though these relationships weren't healthy, I wasn't ready to leave. I wasn't ready to leave until I was ready to leave. So it wouldn't matter who told me, just leave. It wouldn't matter. Not until I was ready. So I understand. So if you're feeling stuck, it's okay to feel stuck. Because I think of it this way, if you're feeling stuck, you know what? Then there's a solution. And today, hopefully that it's a beginning for you to get unstuck and to become free from those emotional ties, right? So now let's start talking about some three strategies, some strategies to help you cope with these situations, right? Because coping with your stuff is, it's important. And there's three ways I'm about to talk about that you can. The first one is know yourself. When you're in that situation, pay attention to when these feelings pop up. Understand that your emotion gives you some power to change things up. So when I talk about pay attention to when these feelings pop up, I'm talking about the feeling of confusion. That moment that switch comes on, and all of a sudden, all the love and attention is gone, and the emotional availability of your partner shows up, and you're feeling confused, like what in the world is going on? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to the frustration. Pay attention to the shame of, oh my God, I fell for it again. Pay attention to those feelings. Get a paper and pad, start writing it down. Get yourself a journal, start writing. Start writing about it. One of the things that we need to do in the beginning is to understand our emotions, because that is the first step. We're not talking about leaving at this point unless you're ready to leave. But if you feel stuck and you're not, know that just doing this part is a huge first step. Because before, I'm not sure, but in my experience, I wasn't even thinking about what I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about what I was feeling. I wasn't thinking about any of those things. I was stuck in like, what is going on? Like, why does he keep doing this? Or what is wrong with me? I'll get stuck in that. But I won't get stuck in like, let's identify with the feelings that I'm feeling. Let's start journaling. And through that journaling and identifying your feelings, you're going to learn some things about yourself. And I guarantee you, if you do enough of that, like I said earlier, that you will see that these feelings that you're feeling in this relationship is awfully familiar to how we grew up. There's a whole lot of similarities, right? The second thing I want you to do, I want you to talk to someone. When I say talk to someone, if you're someone who has viewed the videos, our lives on our YouTube channel, you have heard us talk about, particularly even last week, about the connections that we have in our lives, particularly the connections that we have that can be supportive on our journey of healing. Not someone that's going to belittle us, not someone's going to say, again, just leave, 'cause that's not the answer. Because you leave and come back, or leave and you go to someone else with the same pattern. But talk to that person who's understanding. Share with them what you're going through. Share with the friends who are understanding, family members who are understanding, or just someone you trust. Really important to identify who they are first, and are they someone safe for you to talk to. So if you haven't yet, just go back in our video series, particularly again last week, where we were talking about how we need to select good people in our lives that's going to help us on this journey, that can give us the help in a meaningful way. Not that we have family friends who don't love us, but they may not know how to love us. Not sorry, excuse me. They may not know how to pour into us what we need, that listening ear we need, that ear that has compassion, not the ear that says, girl, you better get out of here because you must be crazy staying there. How many times I got to tell you, you need to leave? That person may be meaningful. They may be meaning with their intent to help you, but that's not really helpful because what that does is creates more shame for that person. Whether that person knows it or not, you're creating more shame. But we want you to be able to identify somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust. And if you don't have that in your life, because I do know there are people, out there that don't have that good support. I want you to know that, he or she's taking a life back. You have a trauma mindset coach. I'm here to help you and to support you if you need that help. You know, right? Reach out to me in the comment section. Um, you can catch me on Facebook in our private group, the Learning Lounge, where we have other women who had similar experiences. Reach out, begin to form new relationships. Utilize people that you have in front of you, again, the trauma mindset coach or other women who are doing this work, who could be safe people. And even in my last video, I talked about how to begin the journey of trusting someone because it has a beginning. We shouldn't just meet someone who we think we can trust and just pour out our entire lives. We do that in steps. So catch that video, view the video that I'm talking about. And there's multiple videos that we even talked about support system, but particularly our last video about healthy connections to support people, not people, in our case, women who've experienced trauma, right? Because, I know my experience, I know experience of my clients I've had over the last 30 some odd years. You know, they felt, and even I felt that sometimes just talking to someone who has that compassion, that has that listening ear, to someone that you can trust makes a big difference. Because I know the clients that I've talked to, and even in my own life, you walk around carrying all these things in your head, and then you don't know what to do with all this. And when you finally get in front of someone that you can trust, and just to get it off your chest, it makes a big difference. You're getting a lot of weight off your chest, but I just want you to understand that that's just a temporary fix. The first thing you want to do is get it off your chest, because what that can do, it can get things off your chest, and then you can able to think more clearly. At that point, if you're tuning into, watching a Woman's Worth talk show every week, if you're joining our Facebook private group called the Learning Lounge, if you're doing those kind of things, we can help you take you to the next step. If you're interested in coaching, I can help you take you to the next step. Even if it's not me, seek out another therapist, someone who's trauma informed. There's many really good, meaningful women who are therapists, who are trauma coaches, that can help you. They can be that listening ear, because I want to tell you, it makes a big difference. And I know it may be difficult, but there are people out there that truly care, and people out there who've been in your experiences and completely understand on a real level. The other thing I want to talk about as a strategy and a way of coping is to take care of yourself. Do the things that make you happy and bring you peace. It's like giving yourself a little bit of love every day. Think about something that you can do to take care of you. In our She's Taking Life Back tribe, we often talk about self-care. Again, you're welcome to, check out our videos. You're welcome to, go on YouTube and search other people's videos about self-care and how important that is to take care of ourselves. Because a lot of times we neglect ourselves. Or a lot of times when you experience trauma in your life, you're looking for someone else to take care of you. You're looking for someone else to do all the loving. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is time for you to give it to yourself. It may feel awkward in the beginning, but begin to do things for yourself. I can remember, like, years ago, the beginning of my own journey of healing, which was a little over 35 years ago. And I remember, I was connected to a group of women. Oh, these women were awesome in my circle. And they were the first ones to share with, you know what? Why don't you go out there and date yourself? You don't always have to wait for a man to go out on a date with. Even if you're in a relationship, you don't have to always wait for your significant other, your husband, to go out on a date. Date yourself. And at that moment, what they was talking about, and I couldn't even conceive it. That was like really confusing for me. Because when they were talking about dating, these ladies were actually taking themselves to restaurants, sitting at a table by themselves in a restaurant, taking themselves on a date there. Or they would take themselves to a movie. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's kind of weird. Because if I go to a restaurant and I'm sitting there, everybody's gonna be staring at me, thinking I'm waiting for somebody, and I'm gonna feel so uncomfortable. Or if I go to a movie and I don't have somebody and everybody else all booed up and I'm sitting there by myself in the movie theater, I'm gonna feel so weird. That was my thought until I began to do it. I don't do it often, but I do it. I've gone to movies by myself. I've gone to restaurants by myself. I've gone to events by myself. I've done it by myself to the point that it became comfortable. That I didn't have that self-conscious thought like everybody's looking at me. Actually, when I began to get real comfortable, like going to a restaurant by myself or going to the movies by myself, certainly going to an empowerment event by myself, that was actually an opportunity for me to meet people. Because sometimes, when you go places with someone, you're stuck in conversation with them because you came with them. But going by yourself is an opportunity for you to connect with other people because you're looking for someone else to talk to. So give it a try. And believe me, I get it. It is going to feel awkward. But if you can't do that, because that's a big stretch for someone, take yourself on a date in your house. Start there. Start with watching your favorite movies today or this weekend. I'm going to watch my favorite movie. I'm going to get out some popcorn. It's just going to be me, myself, and I. Start there until you got gradually able to do it outside of your house. One thing I've learned over these 35 years of journeying through my own transformation, as well as the 32 plus years I've been a counselor. Um, oh, what? I hate my thought goes right out of my head. Uh, something, but things. What was I saying? Something I was learning about taking care of me. Something I was gonna say about. Oh my God! Taking myself on a date, beginning to. I, one thing I love about when I forget thoughts, I'll just keep thinking in my head. You ever do that? You keep thinking in your head, and then the thought sometimes come back quickly. In this case, it did. But talking with people and being on this journey, um, I can tell you this: if you don't learn to love yourself first, if you don't even learn to date yourself first, doesn't it really doesn't even matter if somebody comes and pours all the things into your life, and I'm talking about healthy things in your life from a healthy relationship. You're still going to feel of that void. You're still going to feel like that's not enough. There's some women and men will come extremely needy, like no matter what you give them, they need more, they need more, they need more attention, they need more, because they're building a love from someone else on a place that's empty. So when I talk about dating yourself, that could be a great first step for you to begin to love yourself. Give yourself a little bit of love every day. So when you're with someone, you don't put the whole expectations on them to be the person that pours it into you. And I'm talking about on the healthy side of relationships, right? And even if you're in a relationship that's not healthy, you're in a trauma bonding relationship, and you're feeling stuck while you're still there, date yourself. Particularly in those moments, when that person starts pulling away, you just go grab your list and say, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. What's that movie I wanted to see on Hulu, on Netflix? That's what we're gonna do. Was that popcorn? Have you a list in your journal of these are the movies that I'm gonna see when I have my date night. Make a list ahead of time. You know, make sure you have a popcorn in your cabinet. Whatever other treats that you do, have them prepared. So when that emotional availability shows up, you know what? This is where I'm going to give it to myself. This is where I'm going to love on myself. And it still may not take away the hurt you're feeling at that time, but at least now you have an alternative. You have something else to do to pour into that place where you now feel empty because the emotion and the love was just taken away from your part. It was taken away from you by your partner. You can fill yourself up with love. It's time to fill yourself up with love. You can do it. Start making that list. I would like to hear in the chat if you're someone that's watching the live or the replay in the chat. I would love for you to put down, I decided that I'm going to date myself. I may not be ready to go outside, but I'm going to date myself in the house. Put in the chat, what movie would you see? What movie would you see? What is your favorite movie? Matter of fact, list three. Three movies and three of your favorite snacks. Put in the comment section because we need to begin to prepare ourselves. Remember, this is a metaphorical handbook. So we're going through the handbook on things that you can do. These are some of the things that you can begin to do as you begin to step away from trauma bonding because it is a step at a time. It takes time. This is an emotional bond that you've been a bond that you've been carrying around. When I'm talking about a bond you've been carrying around, that pattern of operating in relationship, you have been carrying that around way before you met this person and way before you met the last person. It started in your childhood. So it takes time, but it's possible. It's possible. So I want to share this with you. I want to take a moment. I want to pause for a moment, and I want to share something with you. Um, Coach Sonia, who normally is the one that does the show with me, is no longer part of the She's Taking Up Life Back tribe. She made a decision that she's going to move on, and I just wanted to take the time to share that with you, viewers, just in the case you just only see me going forward and Sonia's no longer on a channel. I just want you to understand why, and I want, everybody to know that Sonia is still continuing the journey of helping other women. So if you want to follow Sonia, look for her on her TikToks, on her Facebook page, look for her. She's still doing great work. And I'm always excited. One of the things I've shared with my team, even in the real early in the beginning of doing She's Taking a Life Back, is like my expectation it's not that every team member is going to be with She's Taking Life Back forever. I always told every person that joins my team, I want you to have a purpose beyond you just being part of She's Taking a Life Back. Because if I'm helping women taking their life back, I want to do the same for my team. So I'm always applauding or excited, even in my own mind, in my own time, when I see people on my team starting to take on other endeavors. I am so supportive of that, even while you're on the team. We have, Julia, Julia, we talk about the businesses that she's creating, even though she is the CEO of She's Taking a Life Back. So I encourage that. So that is a step that Coach Sonia decided to do. So again, if you want to continue to follow her on her channels, and you can see it by her name, Trauma Addiction Recovery Coach Sonia. But it has been a joy to do these talk shows with Sonia. Sonia has been doing this talk show when we first started it. Well, I actually did it years ago, but when I returned with a Woman's Work talk show back in, I want to say it was November, somewhere in November, Coach Sonia has been with me since the first show. She has been with me consistently. So she will definitely be missed. She will definitely be missed on here on the channel. So I just want to take a moment just to pay homage to Sonia and to wish her well as she moves forward. All right. So I wanted to say that, everybody's all about taking their life back. We are here to grow. And that is really when I thought about doing this platform and coming up with the name She's Taking a Life Back, I thought about like, I want women to take their life back. And when I'm talking about taking your life back, I'm talking about, sitting with yourself and thinking about all those things you wanted to do, or start thinking about things for the first time. Like, what are you most passionate about? Like if you can have a do-over in your life and you can get your dream job or your dream business or do that dream thing, what would it be? We often say it is not too late. That's what it means to take your life back. Take the life that you were created to live, that purpose driven life. Take that life back. Take your life back. And then again, if you're interested in that, you please take a look at our videos. Coach Sonia and I, we did a vision board video for the new year in the month of January. And we talked about, what is your vision? What do you want for your life? What is the next step of your life looks like? So check out those videos. So and on our channel, if you're still interested in seeing Sonia, her videos will still remain. You can always click on them. You could always do that on this video because they'll still be on their channel. And speaking about channel, I think by now, I'm hoping you have determined that this information that I'm sharing with you tonight and the other videos that really resonated with you. And if you're feeling that way, this will be a great time for us to pause, for you to hit subscribe, for you to hit like, for you to hit the notification bell on our YouTube channel so you can be notified every time that we go live, which is every Wednesday. Well, now it's not every time I will go live, because going forward, I will be doing the lives, hosting the lives on my own, but I would definitely be having guests. So look forward to that. Definitely going to have guests on the show, women who experience trauma themselves, women who experience trauma, then wind up becoming a professional in this trauma arena, become trauma therapists, become trauma coaches. You're going to meet them as guests because I want you to meet other women that are doing the same work. So if you're someone in your life, you don't have that go-to, you don't have that source of support for you to go to the next chapter, or help you break some patterns that you're going through right now, help you reform your trauma mindset into a mindset that you are taking your life back and you're living the life that you want to live. I'm going to share the women who are doing that. You're going to hear more from me, more from my personal life, more from my journey, more from my experiences about the same things that I'm educating you about. Because here on this channel, I'm not just talking to talk. These are actually experiences that I've had, and even some trauma healing that I'm continuing to do. So I'm so excited about this theme, and I want to tell you about what's going to happen with next week. Because remember, today's part one, and the next week, part two, is all about how to decode love bombing in different relationships. Another beginner handbook. Join us. I want to help unravel all these complexities. And when I talk about complexities, I'm talking about all these nuances and all these different, terminology that you may hear, all these different, sayings or things that I often say on this channel. I want to help you to get to understand what all those means. Because again, we often hear titles, we often hear love bombing, trauma bonding, strategies. We hear these words, but sometimes we really don't know what that means. And I've learned that through the years of counseling, that there are things that I begin to love being an educator, not only helping my clients learn new support system, but helping to learn what these words mean. What does this language mean, so they can understand? And once you begin to understand, it just opens up your mindset to really believing that change is possible. So I'm going to help you unravel the complexity of what love bombing is. And we talked about it on today's show, but we're going to talk more about it next week. Again, I'm so used to having Coach Sonia here. I'm going to talk more about it. I'm going to be talking about exploring the signs of love bombing, exploring the impact on our relationship. And again, of course, I'm always talking about strategies. We're going to talk about the strategies. I'm going to talk about the strategies of this emotional web in various relationships. Because again, love bombing and trauma bonding does not only happen with your boyfriend, your fiance, and your husband, or who you call your significant other. It happens in a multitude of relationships. It happens in friendships. It happens with family members. So we're going to talk about love bombing from different relational perspectives. So it's a must-see watch. Anybody seeking to understand and navigate the intricacies of love bombing, I want you to stay tuned and get ready for next week's show. I want you to save the date. And that's why it's so important for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you will get that reminder. Because I want you to get ready to empower yourself about love bombing. Because love bombing, it is a tactic that is so debilitating that many women go through. Men go through it too, but he or she's taking a life that we speak to women. So that's why you hear me use the words women. It doesn't negate the man's experience. But many women go through love bombing and don't understand what goes on. They don't understand it. And I also want you to prepare it. And this is the thing about when we not only talk about trauma bonding and not only we talk about love bombing, um, it's just when we talk about relationships, you know, we often actually are actually experiencing these experiences, even though we don't know what to name it. We have these experiences and they're very debilitating. They're very strategic for the person that's doing it. And it's done in a way that is hurtful and harmful to a lot of women. So I'm here to help you help free yourself by educating you on what these terminologies mean and giving you the signs that we're going to do next week. So you be prepared to fight back. And again, it is not that you won't ever experience this. Again, I've been on the journey of healing for many, many years. I'm not exempt for meeting somebody who's going to attempt to trauma bond me. I actually had, and I'll talk about it next week. I actually had connected to this guy, and all of a sudden the trauma bonding the floodgates started opening. But because I became knowledgeable about trauma bonding, and I learned the signs, I was like, oh, we not doing this. Oh, we know this is trauma bonding. We know what this is. And I'm not, can I be honest? As we begin to close, can I be honest? Even with this years of healing of my own, there were moments in that trauma bonding that it actually like it sounded and it felt good at the moment. That I had to say, like, girl, let's get out of here. And that's why it's so important to learn about trauma bonding, and that's why they came up with the name for it, because trauma bonding is so manipulative, and it has a way to creep in there sometimes when you didn't even see it coming. But I'm going to help show you, how to recognize it, and when it comes, how to get out. We need to equip ourselves with that, because that man, that relationship can show up 10 years down the road. You're never exempt from meeting someone who's going to may have the opportunity to trauma bond you. Just when you see it, you need to learn to get out immediately. Look at my face, no matter how fine he is. We're gonna talk about that man right there next week. We're gonna talk about it next week. We're gonna talk about next week. Because again, I love to share real experience in my own personal story about me going through these things. And I had this conversation with matter of fact, Coach Sonia was it yesterday, and just sharing that when you experience trauma, um, that is an experience that's never gonna you're never gonna get to the point in your life where you can say that experience never happened. We're gonna always have that experience in our minds. And even though you can heal, and healing is so important, because what healing does, it allows you to move forward in your life. It allows you to be able to navigate life with people who trauma bond, people who do those things. It helps you with that. But you never know when that person's going to show up or how they're going to show up. But I'm going to help equip you for when they do, because you don't have to remain long, right? I'm not I will never, let me say it this way, I will never get to the point to think I'm exempt from ever being triggered by something. But you better believe when I am triggered, oh, the coping skills is coming. The coping skills is coming. And that's what happens when you develop coping skills and you learn techniques. We may get in there, we may meet Mr. Wrong, but our coping skills that we not only that we learn, that we practice in our lives, prepare so when he does show up, that we don't have to remain there long. That we can say to ourselves, this is not going to work. So we can see it on day one. We can see it on date two if he happens to behave himself on date one. We'll see it early in the relationship, is the point that I'm trying to make. And then we'll know it's time to get out, right? But you have to prepare yourself. If you experience trauma, you have to learn some coping skills. And the other thing that Sonia and I, not Sonia, Coach Julia and I was talking about, and Julia, you'll see her down the road. Julia had took a break for a while. She's the chief operating officer. She's taking a life back, as well as a certified spiritual life coach. And Julia's beginning to come back. So you'll see her in one form or another. But we were talking about that. Or I was sharing with her that we hopefully, I'm pausing because I want to be real sensitive to how I say that. I'm hoping, let me say it this way, that if you're somebody who experienced trauma, and even if your trauma happened when you were 5 years old, I want you to understand that you still could be triggered. And your triggers that happen actually can happen years apart. When I'm talking about, you could be triggered this year and you won't be triggered for another 10 years because you haven't been in that situation to trigger you. And it can show up in year 10 and year 15. So that's why I always live my life, and I don't want to say on guard, but I'm prepared. I'm prepared when a trigger happens. The first way I'm prepared is understanding that I'm still susceptible to being triggered. That's like number one coping skill that I have, having that mindset to understand that I'm not exempt from being triggered, no matter how many years I've been counseling, no matter how many years I've been on this journey of healing, no matter how many years, no matter if I am the CEO and founder of She's Taking a Life Back. It doesn't matter if I'm a certified trauma mindset coach. I have experienced childhood trauma. I've experienced trauma in my adolescence. I've experienced trauma in my adulthood. I experienced those traumas. And I've done a lot of healing. I've done a whole lot of healing. But there's going to be areas in my subconscious mind that may not pop up until I experience a brand new situation that I've never been in, or been with someone who triggered something that never triggered me before. Not until then that I'll know um, that I've been triggered. But I'm not at the point where I say that's never going to happen again. I will never ever be, unless you, let's real talk. This is the real talk. You could be triggered. And the thing about also what's so important to educate you, you could be triggered not understanding that trigger is connected to a trauma bond from your childhood. You probably think that happened because of this one instance. You don't know. Another sign is something keeps happening, a trigger that keeps happening to cause you to get to the place where you feel so overwhelmed, so overly anxiety. And if you also notice that in with the different relationships or different jobs you're on or being around different people, and that same kind of behavior keeps popping up, it's a high chance that's a trauma bond that's connected to your past. And again, that's why we need well-meaning people like therapists and trauma coaches like myself to help connect those dots for you. And I love that kind of thing because for me, when someone connects the dots for me about something that I didn't see, I honestly get excited. I get excited because I say, now I can find a solution. Now I can find a coping skill for that thing. So I'm always open for well-meaning, knowledgeable people to share that information with me. That's why it's so important for you to have certain people in your support system, right? So we're about to end here. I'm just so excited that we got this series started. This is part one. Next week will be part two. But in the meantime, if you are interested in really connecting more with She's Taking a Life Back, join us in the Learning Lounge. We're beginning to do some new things. We'll be coming up with new ideas that's coming real soon. That's already started real soon. So there's a link on top of where my old banner used to be, because I'm in the midst of creating a new banner. But the link is there for you to click if you want to join our private Facebook group, the Learning Lounge. That's where you can get started with your support. Again, if you're interested in connecting with me on a on the description box, um, I will leave my contact information, my email. I will leave contact information for Julia Benton, who is my CEO, Chief Operating Officer. You can get through her, and who she can connect through me. And between us, between those who are on our team, we're going to help you. We're available to help. All right. So you have a good night. I'm so glad we got to this topic of trauma bonding. I'm excited. I'm so excited. So stay tuned. All right. And don't forget to take your life back. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, ring the notification bell because you don't want to miss our future episodes. We're building community also because think about this, not only you can benefit when you subscribe and share the live, it helps us or helps you to say this video or these videos coming from She's Taking a Life Back is really valuable. People are subscribing, and what they'll do is they'll push our videos out to more. And my hope is that one day, or more than one day, that in the future that it will continue to be in front of women who need to hear this. So you have a good night and look forward to seeing you and hearing from you next week. Don't forget, still comment, even though we're not live. Once I hit this end button, still comment. Comment under the video because I will be coming back to check. So if there's a comment there, I'm definitely going to respond to it. Have a good night. Take your life back.